Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. In today's video, I'm making a box which is shaped like so. This particular box is 6 inches long, 4 inches deep, and it's 3.5 inches high up to the point where the box starts to narrow. The handle at the top is optional. You can get into the box with or without this, but the lid lifts out like so, and you can see inside I have a lot of cars because I've chosen to decorate mine as a garage. Let's get started. For the base of the box, we'll start with one piece of cardstock which is 11 by 7, and this is going to form the base and the two long sides. Along the 11-inch side, score at 3.5 and 7.5, and on the short side, score at half and 6.5. And then for the two side sections, you'll have two pieces which are 4.5 by 4. Along the 4.5 side, make a pencil mark at 1 inch, top and bottom, and on the 4-inch side, make a pencil mark at 2 inches, like so, and you'll do that on both pieces. And then finally, for the roof, you'll have two pieces of cardstock which are 6.25 by 3.5. Along the short side, score at 3/4 and 3 inches. Rotate the piece with the 1/2 inch tab at the top and score down to the 1/2 inch score line at 1/8 of an inch and 6 1/8 of an inch. And you'll do that on both pieces. We'll start with the largest piece. We're going to fold and burnish along all of the score lines. Now, of course, once you've seen how the box comes together, you can adjust the sizes of the box accordingly. You might want to change the pitch of the roof, change the height of the box, the width. I've sized this box so that the main element here can be cut from one piece of A4 cardstock. Have the piece in a landscape orientation. We're going to cut up each of the vertical score lines up to the horizontal. We're going to create 3 smaller glue tabs within the long 1/2 inch section, and then we're going to just take a wedge from the ends of each of these glue tabs. That's our first piece prepared. Bring in your 2 small side sections, and we're going to add in an additional score line between the pencil mark up to the 2-inch mark on the short side and the pencil mark here on the left up to the 2-inch mark on the short side. If you have a track in your scoreboard, you can use that. Alternatively, use your stylus and a ruler. I'm going to use the track on my scoreboard, and I'm lining the 2-inch pencil mark up with this marked track. Rotate the piece until the other pencil mark lined up with the track, and just score like so. Fold and burnish along the score lines that you've just made. Do get rid of any pencil marks at this stage. And now I'm going to cut approximately 1/2 inch away from the score line, which will create a support for the roof. You don't need to measure it, you can do it by eye. Now we will want to cut a slot into the top of this section so that the roof element can slot down inside to keep the roof closed. But I want to have a patterned element on the side of this piece. I'm going to therefore add that on to this side section and then cut my slot so that I'm cutting through both pieces at the same time. I've cut myself a piece which is 3 3/4 by 4 1/4. I've embossed this with the brick pattern, as you can see. I'm going to lay this on the top, on the front, like so. In fact, I'll do it upside down. I'm going to just position this on with my gap around the outside, and with a pencil, I'm going to just mark where I want the start of my angle, and I'm also going to measure along the top and mark halfway across, which will be 1 7/8. I'm going to cut from the pencil mark up, and then I will adjust the angles as necessary. Now, you may not be adding pattern paper onto yours, which is fine. You can obviously skip this part and go straight into adding the slot. So that is going to sit on the top like so, and I'm quite happy with that. So I'm going to get that one glued into place. Do that on both ends. Once the glue has completely dried, we want to draw a line from the midpoint across the top here, and it's going to run down 3/4 of an inch. The length of the slot correlates to the 3/4 of an inch that we've allowed for on this roof element here. You want to cut it as a slot, not as a slit, and you need to bear in mind the cardstock that you're using. These two roof pieces are going to come together like so and go down into that slot we're creating in the side section. So you need to make sure that your slot is going to be wide enough to take those two pieces of cardstock. Now, we can obviously cut our slot and then test that before we stick this into the side of the box, and also at the same time test the length of the slot. Now, you can use your scissors for this if you would find it easier. So you could cut straight down the slot like so, and then I'm going to cut slightly to the left and slightly to the right, or you can use your craft knife. Just going to go in with my craft knife to join up those two cut lines. So that's my first slot. So now if I take my two roof pieces with the 3/4 inch sections burnished, fold over the tabs, because the roof is going to sit on the top, and I can see that those two pieces are going to fit down inside the slot, and the roof is going to sit on the top roughly like so. So I'm going to do that on the other end. I'm happy with both ends. I'm now going to add glue onto the 3 glue tabs on the main element, and my side pieces are going to sit on the ends like so. Before I glue that together, I've cut myself an additional piece of cardstock to strengthen the base. This is actually a Hunky Dory Adorable Scoreable. I think it's around a 300 or a 350 GSM. And because I am going to be putting cars into this, obviously there will have a little bit of weight to the box. And I had this industrial type card pattern, and that's just going to sit in their base section like so. So let's glue our end panels on. That is the base element of our box. Now we want to add on the roof. Bring in your roof pieces and fold and burnish. The roof is slightly longer than the length of the box, hence the score lines that we put in at 1/8 of an inch. So we want to reduce the size of the hinge. Now I'm going to have my hinge sitting on the outside of the box. Therefore, I'm going to cut straight up the 1/8 of an inch score lines and remove the rectangles like so at either end. Now, if you want your hinge tab to be stuck on the inside, I would then take a wedge just to shape the glue tab so that it fits neatly in the side of the box. It will depend on the look you want to create for your particular box that you're making. So my roof section is going to sit on the outside like so. Because it's going to sit on the outside, before I do anything else, I'm going to add the side panels on from my pattern paper. And each side I've cut myself, again embossed with the brickwork. Once my pattern paper is in place, I can now go in and glue the roof section into place like so. I'm going to line up the sides like so. Make sure that the score line for the roof section is sitting in line with the top edge of the box. And then before that dries too much, I'm going to fold the 3/4 of an inch tab over and just slot it down into the slot on the roof like so. That is going to dry in place, and you can see how that looks from the side. I'm going to do the same on this side. The two sides of the roof are in place and they slot down nicely inside the slots like so. So that's the basis of our box. So that is fundamentally the box made. You can decide whether or not you want to put handles on, or whether you're happy for the recipient just to slot their fingers in and open the roof. I'm not going to do that now because my roof isn't completely dried. I am going to have handles on mine, but I'm going to add them once the roof is complete. I'm going to get on with that, and then I will come back and show you what I have chosen to do in terms of the handles. Here's the final decorated box. I've finished off the door look, which you would have seen earlier. So this was a die that I had, and I've just stuck a car behind. I've added a stamped and die cut car on the side, and Enzo's Cars, the name of the garage, on the side. And then the handle I've just created by stamping and die cutting some wheels and steering wheels. The bottom two I've scored, so this part is adhered to the roof, and then the handle can be used like so. I have 15 toy cars in here, albeit they're plastic ones rather than metal ones, and the handle is holding up well, and indeed the roof is staying within the slots. So just to show, there's my toy cars inside like so. And obviously you can decorate the box in whatever theme you need to suit your particular gift or the recipient. So there we have today's project, a easy to resize box with an optional handle which comes together relatively quickly and easily. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.